The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out of the Window and Disappeared by Jonas Jonasson. Now, this was an absolutely amazing book. I've got a review and I will put it down below, but it's basically about, well, it's pretty much what it says on the tin. It's a 100-year-old man who climbs out of the window and disappears. Plain and simply. If only a lot more authors would think to themselves, how about if I take a simple idea and create a book out of it, instead of making intricate plots that have so many plot twists and things that just aren't needed. Some people just need to go back to basics. Sometimes that's just the best way, to be honest, and this book is a prime example of it. Pushing the Limits by Katie McGarry. I absolutely adored this book. It was my first proper contemporary romance novel that I actually enjoyed. It actually had so much romance, and the development of the characters and the development of the actual love story itself was so intense and so believable that it actually made me love the contemporary genre. The only other ones before that I'd read I really didn't like, but this one has definitely given me a new perspective on the genre, and I'm so glad that I've read this because it was an amazing book. A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Now, this is the first classic novel that I think I have ever read. Maybe? I think so. And I quite liked it. I thought it was pretty good. Just the fact that you felt as though you were there in the time, and the emotions were so raw and so good in every single chapter. There were a variety of different emotions, like you went from being happy to being sad, and I think that Dickens really captured those emotions extremely well, and I am really proud to have actually read a classic for once. The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. Now, you know a book is really good when I, the person who doesn't make notes on books, starts adding post-it notes for amazing quotes. Now, this book was filled with amazing quotes, and I just can't get this book out of my head, to be honest. I really hate the expression the feels, but I just have to say it with this book. The feels were just unimaginable, and like 1,000,001 other people have said before me, it is so emotional. I think I've said this in previous videos, but I really don't cry when it comes to books. I usually get a tear behind my eye, but it never comes out because I just don't find that books affect me that much. But this book, I'm not even joking when I say that I was in hysterical tears for at least an hour after reading this book. I actually went downstairs to tell my mum about this book, and she was like, "Oh my god, what's wrong?" And I was like, "I've just finished reading The Fault in Our Stars." And it was just absolutely ridiculous how emotional I got over this. It is the most fantastic book I have read in a while. It has got the characterization, the relationships, the emotions, just everything, just the feels. I think everyone else has said enough on this book that I don't really need to say much more. The Secret Diary of Adrian Mole, aged 13 3/4. Now, this book was just a light, fun read that I wanted to read after The Fault in Our Stars because I just needed to read something funny, or I wouldn't have read anything at all. It basically follows the life of Adrian Mole from when he was 13 3/4, funnily enough. It's just witty and it's hilarious. It's just a diary of a 13-year-old, and that's what makes it so funny. I'm reading this at the age of 21. I'm thinking to myself, did I actually ever act like that when I was 13? I probably did. I probably thought, oh, I'm so mature for my age, but when I probably really wasn't. And it's just funny to look back on a 13-year-old and see what they've written. And this book is actually part of a series where he keeps a diary as he gets older, and I think I've read a few of these before, and that was actually a reread of mine, but I am really looking forward to reading the rest of these again because from what I remember they were absolutely hilarious. Unwind by Neil Shusterman. Now, everyone loved this book, so I decided to pick it up and start reading it because I'd heard so many good things about it. But if I'm being honest, I really didn't like it. I thought that it was quite boring, and the only parts that I enjoyed was learning about how the unwinding happenings and all the descriptions behind what had actually happened. And I found that the book didn't really centre on that at all. It just centred around teens and teen emotions and teen angst, and I just found it to be quite bland and wasn't really what I expected. I expected there to be more involvement with the unwinding as such. I didn't think that it would be what it was, and I know everyone loved this book, but I'm one of the people that didn't, I'm afraid. Shades of Grey by Jasper Fforde. Again, I have got a review of this, which I will link down there, and I absolutely love this book. It was amazing. The premise is amazing. The whole idea of colour in a community, and colour meaning social rank, was really well thought out and imaginative, and it was a dystopia like no other. It was the most well thought out dystopia that I've read in a while, and just by the fact that everything was thought out, everything to do with colour. Fforde brought in things about complementary colours, and the fact that people can't see certain colours, and the fact that certain colours mean certain ranks in the social ladder, and I just absolutely loved it. And I thought the story was so funny. You got dropped into a whole new world with a system that's been running for years, and you see it through the eyes of Eddie Russett, who is a red, and you see all his views and opinions, and the history behind the whole colour scheme, pardon the pun, was just put in everyday conversation rather than put in like just in one block of writing. You gradually found out everything about the community. I absolutely loved it. Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. Now this is the second classic in a month. Oh my goodness, I go from reading absolutely no classics ever and getting halfway through Pride and Prejudice and not even finishing it, to reading 2 classics in a month. Admittedly, Peter Pan is a children's classic, but a classic is a classic at the end of the day, and I've been wanting to read this as it's been on my bookshelf for ages, and I quite enjoyed it, to be honest. It was a lot different to the Disney version. The Disney version really, really sugar-coated the book, like extremely sugar-coated it. And I can actually see where half of the songs in the Disney version actually come from, and it's really funny to read, but I found it to be quite creepy. It was weird, and it was almost, I'm not quite sure if I'm wrong in saying this, but it was almost paedophilic in a way, in the way that J.M. Barrie described everything just made Peter Pan seem like some paedophile. I know he was like 13, but it was really creepy. And I enjoyed it nonetheless. I thought it was a really good read, and I thought it was really thought-provoking. But Disney definitely did sugarcoat this book. And lastly, I have read Amsterdam by Ian McEwan. I've been wanting to branch out from YA for a little while, and this is probably the first adult book that I've actually got through. My parents actually have a shelf of their bookshelf that's full of Booker Prize winners, so I decided to pick this one up. It's actually the winner of the 1998 Booker Prize, but it was okay. It was readable. I'm more proud of the fact that I got through it than of anything else, but it wasn't all that great. I found it probably was supposed to be like this, but I just found the characters to be egotistical, self-righteous, and they think that they're right all the time. They just were frustrating because they were both as bad as each other, and I know that's probably the point of the book, but I just got so annoyed reading this book because these people just kept on going back and forth with each other, with arguments and phone calls, and I see the point of view from each person, and each one of them is saying, oh, I really should say sorry, but I'm going to wait until they call me, and it's like, oh, it's so pathetic, and it was like reading about a bunch of kids, if I'm being honest. It's 2 grown adults, and because of the fact that I usually read YA, I found it really weird to read about people with actual jobs. Like, this was one person was a writer, and one person was a musician. Yes, a writer and a musician, and it was just really odd. Not in a bad way, just really odd. But it was an okay book. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good either. those are the books that I read in January. I am still reading Oryx and Crake by Margaret Atwood at the moment because I've just been so busy recently that I just haven't had time. I've been so busy, and then when I haven't been busy I've been tired, so I've been really slow on reading this week, but I will catch up and I will finish this. I'm also half reading The Magician's Nephew by C.S. Lewis as well. I'm actually reading that with Marth Bozart, who I will link in the down bar below. Her videos are really cool, so go check her out. I'm really enjoying that so far. I've been reading it at work because of the fact that it's only about 160 pages long, so I thought I could get through it pretty quickly. Anyways, that's all from me, and I will speak to you soon. Bye!